Welcome. My name is Drifter, and in tonight's video, which is also my first video ever, I'm going to be reading some scary stories from Reddit for you all. I hope that you can find it relaxing and possibly enjoy it. This story, which is called I Woke Up to an Emergency Alert on My Phone, Now There's Creatures Outside, is a 5-part series, and I'm going to be reading part 1 for you all tonight. If you would like to see the other 4 parts, please just let me know in the comments, and I'll get on it as soon as possible. So without further ado, let's get started. I woke up to an emergency alert at 6 a.m. this morning on my phone. Checking my phone, the alert read, "Go indoors immediately and remain inside. Await further instruction." After living here for almost 10 years, I've only ever received a handful of emergency alerts, which all present themselves as tests for the emergency alert system. Generally, I live my life pretty freely and don't take life too seriously. Unfortunately for me, this means that I'm not always the type of person who prepares for the worst to happen, which I now realize is what I should have been doing. I thought to myself, better safe than sorry. So after getting out of bed, I immediately headed downstairs and checked that both the front door and back door were locked and deadbolted. I live alone and always lock my doors at night, but I needed to verify this simply for sanity's sake. Even if I didn't know exactly what was going on, I live in a decently sized 2-story house that I've worked my butt off to make a reality. The windows downstairs all have solid security screens, meaning there was no need for me to check the locks on those. After securing the house, I went back upstairs to my bedroom and tried to make a couple of calls. Initially, I called my boss. I couldn't just expect to get the day off work without explaining the situation, if there even was one. The phone rang for some time before directing me to her voicemail. I left a message explaining the emergency alert I received and told her to call me back when she gets the chance so we can discuss what's happened. I tried calling my parents, but was again sent straight to their voicemail system. I think at this point was when I started to get worried. My parents live almost 2 hours away from me and were always awake at the crack of dawn. They never left the house before 8 a.m., but I still tried to convince myself they were busy with something. So again, I left a message for them to get back to me when they could. My phone dinged. A message from one of my work colleagues, John. He was asking whether I had received the emergency alert too, and if I knew anything about why it was sent out. I replied immediately and told him I didn't know anymore. Then he did, but I let him know if I found anything out. I needed to calm down now. There was no use worrying over something yet that I didn't even know about. I decided to take a shower first before having a quick breakfast and turning on the television to get my mind off whatever could be going on. At this point, it was about 7:30 a.m., the time that I would usually be leaving for work. I'm not one to purposely ignore warning signs, so I'd rather get an angry text from my boss than get caught up in whatever caused the emergency alert to be sent out. When I turned on the television, the same emergency alert sound invaded my ears. The volume was so high from the music I was listening to last night, I had to dive for my remote to turn it on. The same words that were on my phone that woke me up were also on my screen now. Go indoors immediately and remain inside. I'll wait further instructions. Now I was extremely worried. I was realizing that this couldn't just be an accident or a test. I'd never seen an emergency warning like this, let alone it being presented on every channel I flicked through, without any additional information. There was no way for me to know what was going on, or how to prepare for it. After turning the volume down from the television, all the way, to get a break from the blaring alert sound, I realized how quiet it was outside. No cars commuting, birds chirping, neighbors chatting, or airplanes flying overhead. Nothing. I never realized how accustomed I had become to these background sounds. The lack of background sound made me feel incredibly uneasy, like I could sense something was wrong, regardless of the emergency alerts. All of my blinds were still shut, so I hadn't a chance or even thought about looking outside until this point. There wasn't any specific instructions regarding looking outside anyways, so I didn't really think anything of it. But I thought it would be safest to look outside my bedroom window, which leads out to a small balcony through a sliding glass door. I went into my room and pulled a string that rotates the vertical blinds. Immediately, my room flooded with natural light, and the warmth of the sun hit me. I always loved the warmth of direct sunlight, so I made sure my window was faced towards the sunrise, and subsequently towards the street when I had the house built. However, after opening the blinds, what I saw made me immediately drop to the floor. Out of sight from the street, I barely got a glimpse of them, but they looked extremely hostile. These creatures were nothing like any animal I've ever seen, and were gathered in a circle in front of my house, across from mine. It looked like there were about 8 of them. They were gaunt and tall, and appeared as though they were wearing a suit of skin that was far too tight for their bodies. Their bones seemed to be almost protruding from their skin. They had no facial features besides a pair of dark, sunken eyes that appeared completely white in contrast with their extremely dark skin. These creatures were far from human, but were standing on 2 legs, like us. I'm glad they didn't see me. If they can see at all, that is. I don't think I would be writing this right now if they had seen me. After dropping to the floor, I immediately closed the blinds again. I've never had a panic attack before now, but realizing the actual danger I was in, it sure felt like I was going through something similar. Nothing that was going on was normal. Without confidence, I dialed the emergency telephone number on my phone. Immediately, a recorded message sounded through the speaker. Go indoors immediately and remain inside. I'll wait further instructions. The message pierced my ears and continued looping until I ended the call. A couple of hours went by while I went through my entire phone list trying to get into contact with anyone. Now even John wouldn't respond. Not a single person answered their phone or responded to the frantic voicemails I left. At the moment, I was safe in my house. But how long would that last? I didn't even know what these creatures were, let alone what they were capable of. I just knew they weren't here to make friends. Eventually, I decided to make my way downstairs and take stock of the food I had. I didn't know how long I'll have to wait these creatures out, but the power is still working, so everything in the fridge and the freezer is still okay. The water is still running, obviously, since I was able to take a shower, but again, I don't know how long that will last. I decided to fill up the bathtub downstairs with water, just in case I run out anytime soon, so I'll have at least 150 liters of drinkable water in that case. Curiosity got the better of me. After taking stock of the food and filling the tub, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was already going a little mad. Just yesterday, everything had been completely fine. Now I couldn't get in touch with a single person, and there were creatures outside, out on the street, that I'd never seen before. I needed to look again. I needed to know that what I saw was real, and not something I'd made up in my head. This all felt like a weird dream I needed to wake up from, but I knew this was real. I went back upstairs to my bedroom and peeked through the blinds. Surprisingly, the creatures were no longer where I had seen them earlier. And then I noticed the door to the house across the street looked to have been scratched through. There were long scratch marks across the length of the wooden door, and a large hole in the center. They had broken their way into the house, but they were no longer anywhere to be seen. That is, until I noticed something staring straight back at me through the upstairs window of that same house. The deep, sunken eyes I stared to seemed like they'd steal the soul from my body if I looked for too long. After my brain recognized what I was staring at, I leapt backwards from the blinds. That thing had no doubt seen me. I paced back and forth thinking what I should do at this point, when I heard a horrendous sound coming from downstairs. I quietly made my way down the stairs and towards the sound. The sound pierced my ears. It sounded like something sharp being dragged across the metal. That's when I realized they were trying to get inside. The metal security screen door I had installed was being barraged by them. I started moving the bookcases I had by the entrance against the front door. Now the sun was setting, and they were mercilessly going at it. There was no way I could fend off those things barehanded. That's when I remembered the gift my dad had given me for my 25th birthday. I was never really into guns, and never really had a need to use one. But at a time like this, it was quite necessary if it had come to that. I ran upstairs and into the guest room where I'd stored everything that was gifted to me for my birthday. The pistol was still in its case, and I quickly removed it and loaded it with ammunition my dad had also shown me how to use. I never fired a gun, so this still remains a last resort. Now I'm sitting in my room, writing this. The pistol is sitting on my bedside, and I can still hear those creatures downstairs. I don't know exactly what I should do. Should I run? Should I fight? If you're reading this, please respond. That was part 1 of I woke up to an emergency alert on my phone. Now there's creatures outside. Again, there is 5 parts to the series, and if you would like to see more, please leave me a comment, and I will get on it as soon as I can. Thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that I relaxed you a little bit. If so, mission accomplished, and have a great day or night. Peace out.